All right, enough Pulisic. Let's move on to some quick hits.
Yes, let's go, Gab.
Glass half full, glass half empty at Barcelona. Suarez is fully fit. Messi is not and could miss the opener away to Mallorca on Saturday. Your thoughts, Jules?
My thought is that I would rather have Messi than Suarez fit, to be honest. Especially after 3 months.
Thank you, Captain Obvious.
Yeah, but Messi looks so good at training. It's just one of those things that you'll be absolutely gutted if you're Barcelona, thinking like, really, of all the players that you have, all the ones that you rely in a title race with Real Madrid, where you know that it's gonna be played on details and small margin. You would want Messi really fit for the whole remaining games, and that's not going to happen. And even if he plays at Mallorca, it will not be 100% anyway.
To be fair, it's Mallorca. I wouldn't take any chances with Messi. You got to listen to the doctors, but if there's any question, give him a couple more days.
Yeah. Gab, we saw Bayern, Borussia Dortmund, Hertha and others take a knee before kickoff this weekend in solidarity with Black Lives Matter. In the Bundesliga, they had T-shirts as well and a lot of other tributes. How significant is all this?
So we touched upon this on the show last night. I mean, I think as a symbol, as visual messaging, it obviously is significant. I would make a big distinction, though, between this and what we saw Weston McKennie, Jadon Sancho, and those guys do the week before. While the message is the same, now it's effectively a corporate message, right? Because it's approved by the club, it's approved by the league. Every single player does it. It takes a lot more guts to be the first guy to do it, to face the possible repercussions. And the other point I would make is, this reminds me of, when you go to games and they have all the say no to racism, show racism, the red card T-shirts and banners or whatever else. And they're put there by the organizers. And look, great message. Nobody's going to dispute that. But the messaging alone isn't going to do it, right? Once it becomes, once it becomes part of the structure, you need to have follow through for it to be significant. Otherwise, we become anesthetized to it, right?
Yeah, you're right. Although if nothing had happened this weekend in the Bundesliga, we would have been disappointed, right? As well, we would have said.
I would have expected stuff from individuals. The Mainz player, I think, kneeled down. I just don't know how I feel about it. It's a bit like the poppy message here in England. When they'll wear the poppy around Remembrance Day and it's actually sewn into the shirts.
No,
does that have the same meaning as somebody choosing to do it and perhaps even facing punishment for it?
I think in those times, the whatever the message is, wherever it comes from, is still more important than nothing. Manchester City's appeal against their 2-year ban and fine for breaching financial fair play regulations begins today, Gab, at the Court of Arbitration for Sport in Switzerland. What are the stakes?
Well, I wrote a whole column about this, of course. I think the stakes are massive for City because, you could be talking about, I think, up to $300 million in losses over 2 years in terms of unrealized income, sponsorship damage, and of course the fine, which is far from insignificant. It's really curious. There was the option that we've seen the Court of Arbitration for Sport to make these hearings public and so that you could stream them.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. One of the parties, possibly both parties, decided, no. Let's keep this all secret. They've also kept the identity of the 3 judges on the panel secret. I mean, I don't know what they think. Do they think somebody's gonna show up like in those mob movies and go and like
put like a head of a horse in the bed? And
I think what we need to come out of this above all is transparency. And the way they're going into this, it's not great. I don't want to see City, and I make this point is, I don't want to see City punished on a technicality, and I don't want to see City let off on a technicality. I want a verdict that everybody understands and a verdict that's very clear and say they did this and they did that and that's how they're being punished. Or if it's the other way, UEFA's investigators were wrong in judging this and that, and this is why Manchester City are innocent. I want a clean finish. Jadon Sancho wasn't fined for his, quote, justice for George Floyd, unquote, message, but did get in trouble for getting his hair cut at home from a barber who wasn't wearing personal protective equipment. Sancho tweeted that it was, quote, an absolute joke that he got fined. And Sean suggested he grew up. Jules, is it Team Sancho or Team Sean for you?
I'm Team Sancho, the player, but on this one, I have to say that it messed up completely. You can't break the rules like that. We've had this issue many times before with other players. You just can't do it. Why do you do it? And then how can you be surprised that you got a fine when you did something that you were not supposed to do? And I think Emre Can, what I find very interesting in Emre Can saying he has to grow up, it takes you back to what Thomas Delaney told us on the show, a week ago or 10 days ago, when he said there's no limit for Sancho, but it will all be in his head. And mentally, how he plays himself as a player, and what does he do if he puts the effort, if he's thinking, and maybe that's a bit what Emre Can was trying to do,
And one of the things I want to say, like, this isn't, well, first of all, Emre Can, I think, if you look at everything in context, very positive about Jadon Sancho.
Yeah, like Delaney was. Yeah.
But equally, we need to remind ourselves that there's a lot of players who we totally respect and we view as being incredibly intelligent and great pros. I'll give you one name for everybody, Frank Lampard Jr., that if you go back to some of the stuff that they did when they were 20 years old, was incredibly stupid and irresponsible, far more than Jadon Sancho getting his haircut. So, I mean, the reason I point this out is to say people grow up and people evolve and mature, and maybe in a while Jadon Sancho will view this differently.
But this is not just about the haircut, right? This can't just be because of the haircut. I don't think Emre Can would have used those words if there was nothing else there at some point. Jurgen Klopp says he absolutely positively wants to have a parade to celebrate Liverpool's title win, and if it happens in the middle of the next season, so be it. Gab, do you empathize with that?
Hell yeah.
Of course, man. 30 years they've been waiting. Come on.
And he says, like, people might think we're crazy if it's in the middle of next season. I mean, I do wonder what happens middle of next season. What happens if he gets sacked or if the team starts badly or whatever. That would be. But you know what? I think Liverpool fans have been waiting for so long. Yeah. They're so grateful. They tend to remain grateful to people who've been successful in Liverpool, even when they left or even when things ended poorly. And there's no suggestion things are going to end poorly with Klopp. So no, I think this is great. It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to say right now as well, to make it clear that this will happen. So please don't go out and celebrate on the streets. I mean, that's the subtext there. Jules, the Battle of the Leagues is gearing up. For those who haven't seen this, 8 of us ESPN writers, we've all been assigned a league. I'll be taking charge of the Bundesliga. 2 groups of 4, semifinals, final. We'll be simulating games on FIFA 20. Yeah. No more than 4 players in the matchday squad from any one team. Can you give us a preview of your projected 11?
Of course, Liga people, I've got this covered. Don't worry, you can trust me. I will be your manager. I've got all my tactics sorted. It's a lot pragmatic on who we play against, although we would like to have a lot of the ball. I went for my big question mark was the PSG players. Who do I go for PSG?
I would suggest Mbappe.
Yeah, Mbappe is in there, and so is Neymar. Marquinhos is my captain. And then for my 4th one, I thought about this hard, and Marco Verratti or Angel Di Maria or Edinson Cavani, and I went for Juan Bernat because I thought I left back, especially when sometimes I move to a back 5. I thought Bernat was really good. I went for Wissam Ben Yedder as well, up front, who's very good in the game. There's no left backs
in the French league that are better than Bernat.
You know what? Bernat has a lot to offer for me in this game. So has Ben Yedder, Bakayoko in midfield, Thiago Mendes from Lyon in midfield as well. Says Fabregas will be on the bench.
No Camavinga,
No Camavinga, because it's too early for him in the game. He's not at his best. So you will see if you keep following us.
Who's your keeper?
I went
Ruffier,
yeah, because I could not have Lyon players because I had them all 4 already in other positions. Same for PSG. So I went for Ruffier, who I'm expecting big things in this tournament. What about you? Where was the big dilemma that you had to face?
So I have a big dilemma. Obviously, which Bayern players to take and which Dortmund players to take, because obviously these teams are so deep.
Yeah.
I ended up leaving out Mats Hummels because I felt I had to have...
Big call, that.
Well, look, I had to have Sancho in there. I had to have Erling Haaland, obviously. Witsel, in terms of midfielders, Witsel, I think, gives you a lot.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Hakimi's pretty special. And, once I decided I'm going to commit to Kimmich in midfield, I needed a right back. And...
well, there's no other right back in the Bundesliga. Like you said, there's no other left back than Bernat in France. So
Hakimi's really good.
Yeah, so is Bernat. So you criticize my choice.
Whatever, man.
We'll see.
Whatever.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.